Alrighty, we are officially recording. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this call with me. I'm super excited and I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yes,
This is going to be good info.
So today we're going to be talking about copywriting best practices for virtual bookkeepers, since that's primarily who I help, bookkeepers and accountants. Let me go ahead and get these slides right. Okay, so before we dive in, I wanted us to do a quick introduction for those who don't know us already. So just give me 1 second, pull this up. All right. So quick introduction. Sam, I will let you go first.
Yeah, sure thing. My name's Sam. I'm the founder and lead copywriter at Nomad Copy Agency. And what that means, if you haven't worked with a copywriter before, is like the shortest way to say it is that I write the words that go on the internet. What that means for bookkeepers is that I have a ton of experience writing professional services websites. So that's your home, about, services, contact at its core. And then, of course, there's the emails that we send over and over. So I get into the emails and stuff as well.
Perfect. And that was like a perfect way to sum it up, because I know people get confused when you say copywriting or copy. It's just the text that goes on their website. That's all it is. It's just a fancy word for the text on the site.
Totally.
Yeah. And for people who don't know me already, my name is Jasani, and I specialize in helping bookkeepers get more clients from their website without all of the DIY hassles and headaches. So this is where me and Sam tag team together and help people do this specifically. And today we wanted to do somewhat of like a free information type of thing to help you understand like the best practices when it comes to doing your website if you decide to go it alone.
Yeah, and I want to add here too that if you decide after this that this is a lot of information, going it alone is not your jam, Chisani and I work together and we have a package available where you can hire both of us at the same time. So this isn't a sales presentation, but I do want to put it out there that we're not just here for this presentation and then bopping out and never talking to each other again. We work really closely and we work really well together on behalf of bookkeepers. So just dropping that out there before we get into the presentation.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Okay. So today what we're going to be discussing, of course, are the main pages of your site. Pretty much every bookkeeping website needs to have these pages. So homepage, copywriting tips, about page. I know that's like the most difficult one for some people. Talking about yourself can be really, really challenging. Services page, your contact page. And at the end, we're going to talk about how you can get affordable support if you decide to go it alone, but want some professional advice as you do it. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm pretty much going to be letting Sam take over this presentation because this is her zone of genius, not mine. Okay, so we'll go ahead and dive into the homepage.
Yeah, let's jump in. So every website has a homepage. If you don't have a homepage, we need to have a conversation. But your homepage is kind of your everything page. I think of your homepage as a handshake. This is where people arrive and they learn who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and how they can work with you. And a lot of times we need to accomplish all 4 of those things within the first 5 seconds of them being on the page, because that's typically how long current social science is telling us that people will spend 5 to 7 seconds on a website before deciding if it is or is not for them. Mm-hmm. And that gets communicated through your words, but also through your design. So while I am a copywriter, if your words just show up as like HTML text, like nobody's going to convert. They have to be designed well. And there's a lot of sales psychology behind how the design and the copy play well together. So you need to get the message across without having so many words that people are like, no, I'm not going to read this and dip out. And it has to be designed in a way that people can see exactly what it is that they're supposed to see, right? We call it above the fold. And above the fold is the first scroll on a website. So whether it's on mobile or desktop, it's what you see before you start scrolling down the page. Mm-hmm. Then the rest of the page gets into a little bit more about who you are, what you do. Typically what we would see is that above the fold, we'll have a header, a subheader, and a call to action. And that does what I said before of who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and how to work with you. Mm-hmm. So for example, it might say, welcome to Nomad Bookkeeping. I tell my people to steer clear of I help statements typically in their copy, but for the sake of making this up off the top of my head, we help service providers get clear about their numbers so that they can run more efficient businesses. Work with me here. That's your call to action. It's a very clear, like, this is who we work with and the point of working with a bookkeeper. And that's how we do it. So then the rest of the page will dive further into that. But honestly, that's the most important part of a homepage. And as we go through this, I'll say the thing that people tend to mess up on each page so that you can avoid it. And on the homepage, the biggest issue that I see is that people don't put a call to action above the fold. So it's as if we say that your homepage is your handshake, it's like you're shaking somebody's hand but not allowing them to speak. Like, if you don't have a call to action, if somebody's not saying in their head, oh, how can we work together? It's like those old 90s movies where like the guy goes to the girl and he's like, shh. Like, you need to have a call to action. Otherwise, you're not allowing them to have a response to your introduction by asking how they can work with you.
And that makes total sense. So I know you said like the homepage is one of the most visited pages, and that's the handshake. That's how everybody initially comes in and is introduced to your business. With a call to action being one of like the biggest mistakes you see of people not using that, what's like a good call to action for service providers specifically?
So there's two ways that you can do it. It would either link over to your contact or your services page. So you could either say learn more here, and that would probably take you to the services page. Or the get on my calendar would probably take you to either a contact page or a Calendly link or something, or like schedule your consult here. Or it might say like, if you're a bookkeeper who only does cleanups, for example, it's like, messy books, need them in time for tax season, like schedule your consult here and we'll get your books cleaned up in 2 weeks or less, guaranteed. And then the button would say like, schedule your consult here. So it doesn't matter as much, should it go to services, should it go to contact, should it go to somewhere completely different, like a Calendly link. What matters most is that it works and that it's meeting your clients where they are. So if you're project-based, if you don't touch taxes, if you don't do any of that, then your call to action is going to be a whole lot different than somebody who does 75% of their business in the first quarter of the year doing books cleanups.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I always have this like lawyer answer, like it depends, but it's important to have context of where your clients are. Ultimately, you just don't want to stand in the way of people working with you if they want to work with you.
Yeah, definitely. So pretty much the call to action is just like the most logical next step.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. And really quickly, because I know I'm a visual person, so I'm thinking like when you talked about the above the fold, I can show a quick example of what that looks like for someone who's wondering. So, okay, so above the fold is this section right here. So this is like a homepage of an example site. Before you have to start scrolling down, this is like your main section. This is the above the fold, what people are seeing. So your headline, like your sub headline, and then of course the call to action.
Yep. And that call to action is always a button. I've seen people have it as a link, and that like doesn't count because links get lost.
Yeah,
you wouldn't do that if it looked like the rest of the copy.
Definitely. So that's a big thing for the homepage. So I'm trying to think. So for your about page, I know that a lot of people struggle with this, and one of the biggest issues I see is people talking about themselves like so much, and it's like a bunch of stuff that's not really necessary, and it's more of like from the bookkeepers I've worked with, it'll be more of like a resume talking about, hey, I went to this school, I got this certification, this certification. So how do you feel about that, and what's like the biggest mistakes that you see like as a copywriter when it comes to that?
Yeah, so the best about pages start with the word you. Because you are speaking to your clients. So again, let's say that you do books cleanups for budding entrepreneurs. It would probably start like, you got all the way to tax season without a bookkeeper, huh? or something like that.
Mhm.
Something that has a little bit of your personality into it, but you realize that you're speaking directly to that person. Then anything that you say about yourself on this page has to directly relate to your client, where they are now. So, and plenty of times a contact or an about page will start with like, "Hi, I'm Sam, a copywriter for blah, blah, blah," right?
Mhm.
Or a bookkeeper for creative agencies, something like that. That's fine, but then start talking about you. Like, you are this, you are that, you are the other thing. And that's why I started Nomad Bookkeeping, because I understand that you need this right now.
Mhm.
It's not, "Hi, I'm Sam. I went to Iowa State University. After graduating in 2014, I got a job in sales and realized it just wasn't for me. Then I decided to go travel." Like, none of that is relevant to your client right now. And
Mhm.
you can tell that story if you like are really, really compelled to tell that story. Put it down a scroll, like talk about them first, and then maybe have a section that's like wondering how I got here, and
Mhm.
then tell that story. But typically, they don't care that much if you went to Harvard or didn't go to college at all.
Mhm.
Typically, they don't care about your grandma's neighbor's dog and how that inspired you to start thinking about your numbers, right? They care about, do you understand them where they are right now? Do you specialize in what they do? Like, you and I have worked together on really niche projects where the people that we've worked with have been bookkeepers for exclusively cannabis industry
Mhm.
companies. So that's important to know. That's where you show them that you know them, where it's like, that's where you say, like, you have this unique problem and that unique problem because the tax code is different, because the regulations in your industry are different. So you're speaking to them and then saying, that's why I started this. I know your problems. Click here to work together.
Mhm.
Not, "I smoke weed on weekends." You don't need to tell them that part of your story. You tell them
Yeah.
that you understand that. Another good example is somebody came to me recently, and funny enough, my company is Nomad Copy Agency. Their company was Nomad Accounting or Nomad Bookkeeping. And they specifically worked with digital nomads. And digital nomads, a lot of people don't know, but if you spend a certain amount of time out of the country, you and your business do and don't have to follow certain regulations and tax codes and stuff.
Mhm.
So it was super important to me as I found this person and as I was reading through their website that they told me that they understand FEIE, that they understand all these different things, but they were talking about it in a way of like, "You're not sure if FEIE applies to both your business and your personal taxes. You da 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 da," versus talking about like, "When I'm not in Morocco, I'm in Mauritius," right? It's not about them, it's about your ideal client. So I hope that those couple of examples help drive this home a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I think it definitely will. The biggest thing is pretty much letting them know that people think the website is about them, but it's really not. It's about the people that you're trying to attract. So yeah, I think that pretty much nails it.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, because I know a lot of bookkeepers, like in the group specifically, might not have a niche yet. So if they're
Mhm.
more general and serving pretty much anyone locally or just anybody that's willing to work with them, what would your advice be for tailoring their about page?
Get it in your existing clients' language as much as possible, of
Mhm.
asking them every time somebody starts working with you, what are you hoping to get out of this relationship? Because then you can take that language and say, you want this, but you are here. That's why I started this, to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And you can do that even if you have as few as like 2 or 3 clients. Like, just because if you want to work with people like them have similar problems and similar desired outcomes.
Yeah.
So you can just take their language and, I mean, you don't want to copy paste it, but like basically say the exact same thing as what your current clients are saying.
Okay. Perfect. That's great advice. So I guess trying to think of how they can apply that. Like maybe like when their contact form or something like that, ask what do you hope to get out of this and then save it and put it in their
Mhm.
site later. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sam. That is a great tip.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Moving on to the money page.
Yes.
Services. The first question I'm going to ask you is your feelings about having prices listed on the site versus not having it listed. I know that's a big thing that comes up a lot.
I say a starting at price is always a good thing. I can't really think of a defense where you wouldn't want it on your page. The only thing I can think of is somebody has said, like, what if my existing clients see that, like, they're not being charged the same thing or something? But, like, businesses understand that as they get more complex, they need additional services.
Yeah.
And if it's starting at $250 a month, $450 a month, also starting at is just starting at. Like, if they have multiple services, you might give a volume discount. So, like, they just want a general idea of, like, okay, I know that this is going to cost me $300 a month starting. Then I think it's always good to have it, because there's also the startup packages. You know, you'll see people who have a, like, books cleanup and onboarding for $1,500, and then it's $150 thereafter. Like, especially, like, most businesses hire bookkeepers when they're still in the solopreneur stage. So that money directly affects their owner pay, and it directly affects their monthly profit. So I would be hard, like, and this is personal, I would be hard pressed to fill out the, like, you should, like, work with me here, get on a call, unless I knew that, because I don't want to spend an hour talking to you in 2 weeks from now when we both have time on our calendar just to find out that you're out of my budget or don't work with people like me, you know?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That'll be a big waste of time on both ends.
And it helps the sales conversation. They're not surprised to find out that it's a year-long $350 a month minimum investment. Like, nobody likes those kinds of surprises.
Yeah. So I guess having the prices is a good way to kind of set the expectation up front. And I guess, like, filter people out. The people that can't afford you, you're letting them know, hey, I'm not the one for you. So you're not wasting your time and not wasting theirs. And then the people who can afford you, they'll be like, okay, the transparent, I know what to expect going into this, and it'll make the conversation, I feel it'll make it a lot smoother.
Yeah. Because we're not all good at sales conversations, and the sales conversation is not convincing anyone that you're worth it if they're already on your calendar knowing what it costs.
Yeah. That's a great point. You're not really going to have to convince them to work with you. It's more of like a personality fit when you're on the call.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So aside from pricing, what's, like, a big issue you see on a lot of bookkeeping websites specifically?
Especially with bookkeepers, because y'all are detail-oriented people, you think that everyone wants to know all of the details. And I can tell you, as a business owner, I do not care how many profit and loss reports you generate for me a year or a moment or whatever. Like, all of the details of what you do and how you do it and why you do it and what that's going to do for me. It's the amount of detail that people seem to think is necessary on the page. And it's necessary to have that information available to your clients should they ask, but it does not need to be at the top of your services page. Your services page doesn't need all of the text of all of the things. And there's a couple ways to circumnavigate this. What you say here on this slide is it doesn't go into too much details, but acts as a landing page. So let's use the example again, like, 2 ways to work with me: one-time cleanups or ongoing basis, right? So we would have that just readily available at the, like, towards the top of the services page. And there might be a few points on each of, like, you know, starting, you know, underneath it, I would say, like, starting at $400 a month, starting at $1,500. And then, like, 3 things that you do within that. And it's less about the 3 things that you do and more about the outcome of each. So it would be like in-depth one-time cleanup so that your so that your books are ready to hand over to your tax accountant. You know, it's about that so that you can, like, what happens as a result of each of these things that you do. But even so, those things are, like, those sentences are, like, 15 words max. These are not, like, 3 paragraphs on what you do.
Mhm.
And then so it's like, that's one way, is we keep it super brief in the first place. Another option, if you're like, no, my people continue asking me about this, is to have an option to say, like, download the details, where they can download a PDF. And what you can do is you can put that behind a wall where people are opting in. So then you receive their email address. So if they're truly interested in your services and like all of the details and how we do it and how often and why and all of that, make a PDF on Canva, make it downloadable, attach it to the back end of your website so that people can opt in. And then you have a lead that you can follow up with and say, hey, I saw that you were really interested in my single time books cleanup. Get on my calendar here. And then it leads to a consult call. So you can have that information. It just doesn't need to be on your services page.
I love that idea of like having like the price sheet as a freebie, pretty much, the build the email list. I love that so much, because a lot of like the bookkeeping websites I see, it's like bullet points, accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll, this. And when I hired my bookkeeper, I didn't understand any of that stuff. I just understood, hey, like, this is what I'm going to help you with, and this is what you don't have to worry about anymore. Like, okay, cool. But going through that long list of things that I really don't know what it means, it is really not helpful. So I'm sure other people feel the same way.
Like, my bookkeeper and I get on a call once a quarter, and she explains to me what everything is, but I'm pretty sure it's a profit and loss report. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what she puts into it. I don't need to know that. I need to know what it does for me and what I need to watch out for and what trends she's seeing so that I can make better business decisions. Like, that's why people hire bookkeepers, is to help them make better business decisions most of the time. So yeah, I don't care how many reports she runs in my QuickBooks. That's none of my business.
Yeah, same here. But perfect. I know that's the biggest thing I see in like the services pages, is like the long list. So I'm glad that there's like that you gave us an alternative way. If people are like dead set on having that list, just make it a PDF, get it off the site, and just make it a PDF, make it something separate. I love that. On to the contact page. If somebody makes it down to this page, like, they're ready to go for the most part.
Yeah.
So and I know it's really not like too much like copy on this page. Is normally just like contact information and maybe like the calendar embed. So with that said, what is like the biggest mistake you'd see on this page that would make you just change your mind completely if you went to somebody's page and was like, you know what, never mind? Like, what would that be?
So if it's hard to use, first of all, like, I'll see contact pages and they'll have a map and they'll have all these like cool things where it's like, yeah, sure, your website provider lets you have a map, but like, I'm not there. Like, I don't care where in Charlotte you're based. I'm in Texas. You know, like, that doesn't. So it's like right at the top of the page needs to be exactly what you want them to do. Also, it doesn't need to say contact at the top of the page. Like, you know the words for this, like at the very tippy top of the page and the like navigation bar, you know, where it says home, about, services, contact, that can say contact. But when you get to contact, it doesn't have to say contact. It can say, it's so nice to meet you. Get on my calendar here, with like a cute little arrow that points to your calendar embed. Or, you know, have a question that I haven't answered yet, drop it below. Like, you can have some personality into it. But at its core, even if your contact page redirects to your calendar, like, just make it super easy for people to actually contact you. Another thing I see is people will hyperlink their emails. And a lot of times when you hyperlink your email, it will automatically pull up Outlook, which no one uses, like, not in the entrepreneur world. So it'll start pulling up like an Outlook program on my computer. And I'm like, this is worthless. Or I'm not sure how it does it on Mac, but I think it starts pulling up Apple Mail. And it's like, you don't need to hyperlink your email address. Also, sometimes having your phone number and your email address and all of that opens you up to spam. So I like to control the conversation personally by just embedding forms versus putting my info out there, because
Yeah.
also, unless you are like a Chicago-based accountant working with Chicago-based entrepreneurs, you don't want people stopping by your office. You don't want people calling you on your personal cell phone. You don't want them having your personal email, maybe like hello@chisani.com, not chisani@chisani.com. Right? Like, so there's a lot to think about, but like at its core, the contact page can be as easy as just dropping your calendar link and being like, let's chat. Here's how,
Perfect. And you make me feel like I need to change my contact page now. I think mine at the top, it just says contact me. So I'm gonna try to think of something more cute and clever for that.
I mean, yeah, like again, at its core, like you said, if people have gotten to your contact page, they're trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
So what it says matters less than what it does.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And just give me 1 minute. I'm gonna go ahead and grab baby girl. She's gonna join us for the last bit.
Great. We love little employees.
Okay. Yeah, she decided she wanted to pop in.
Good. Excellent. Hello, Angel.
So contact page, let me go ahead. Yeah, so that is super, super helpful. And that's what I'm going to work on today, is finding something cute and clever for my contact page.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen people in their forms get super personal. It's a good way, like I said, to start gathering information about your clients, where they're at. So to ask, what are you hoping to get out of our conversation? It doesn't just have to be like name and email and then pick a time, because then everybody shows up blind. So it's like, how can we expedite the conversation? How can you best prepare for it? And some people say like, what's your Myers-Briggs? Tell me a fun fact about you. Like, you can add some personality to it, but ultimately make it easy for them to take action.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Out of curiosity, do you recommend a certain number of questions to go along with the contact form, or like the contact the contact form or page?
I would say should take people less than 3 minutes to fill out. So it's less about number of questions, but more about, and you can expedite it by saying something like, instead of asking them what's most present for you right now, you could have a drop down instead of an open box. So then people could say bookkeeping, taxes, cleanup, and they can choose from a list. Will help, especially if you know that people kind of ask the same things over and over. And then there's always the option for like other, please describe.
Okay, perfect. And that's a good number. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to fill out. Okay.
That's kind of like my meeting ended 5 minutes early and somebody told me to reach out to this bookkeeper. So it's enough time that they can get it done, and it's not like, crap, if I have to get on this person's calendar, I need to set aside a half an hour just to fill out the form.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Sam. Another helpful tip.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. So I know when I first started, all of that was overwhelming. The writing the copy, you've seen how I started off when I submitted my copy. My copy was very technical, all the stuff that I was saying that I didn't like when I saw bookkeeping websites. I was like that when it came to describing what I do, helping bookkeepers with their websites. I was very, very technical. So for someone like me who doesn't have that much, the creative part of writing isn't their thing, how would you be able to help them? And if there's any other things that you're able to help them with aside from website copy, what would those things be?
Yeah, for sure. So as I said before, I do websites, but also the emails that you tend to send, especially during busy seasons, it's the same email over and over. You might have an automation depending on just where you're at in business and what systems you use. So I do emails as well. And then sales pages. If you're ever coming up with a program or a course, something like that, I write sales pages and ads for those as well. But if you're looking for help with your website copy, there's 2 ways to work with me. First of all, that's done for you. Hand it over to me. I will write it for you.
Mhm.
The other way is, and Chisani and I have been working in this capacity, is what I call copy on demand. And copy on demand is me in your back pocket. It's having access to my brain, but you write the copy. So typically working with a copywriter on retainer is thousands of dollars a month. This is $150 a month. Copy on demand is me in your back pocket. So you would come to me and say, Sam, I know I need to write a homepage. What do I need to put on it? And then you write it. And then you can bring it back to me and say, how is it? What would you change?
Mhm.
And it allows you to do a couple of things. 1, save a whole lot of money on outsourcing copy. And 2, making sure that that copy is optimized and converts. And 3, you start to recognize your own patterns so that you write better copy the first time around in the future. So a lot of benefits for it. The QR code is on the screen. Chisani is also going to drop a link when we post this in the Facebook group so that you can click on it. But like I said, it's very affordable. People have been asking if there's a commitment, a minimum commitment. There's not. So if for any reason having this in your back pocket no longer makes sense, you can opt out. And I'm trying to think of other questions that people have been asking me about it. Yeah. And there's 2 tiers. You can either submit 1 piece of copy per week or 2 pieces of copy per week is basically the difference between the 2 tiers of copy on demand. And I'm like super active on social. So if anyone sees this and has questions, slide into my DMs. I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, perfect. I did have a quick question for you because I know when I first signed up for this was my question of what is a piece of copy? Like, is it like a whole page? Like if I'm doing my own website and I write the whole about page, is that 1 piece of copy or is that whole website, like the whole thing, the piece of copy?
Yeah, great question. So it would be 1 page.
Okay.
The exception to that is if it's a sales page and it's like 17 scrolls long. I can typically look at it and either give generalized feedback or you can say, hey, in these 2 sections, can you help me rework this? Does it make sense? So typically I would say I spend about 20 plus or minus minutes on each piece of copy that I receive. So I think with that in mind, it's typically like an email, a web page, like an about page, or a certain section of a sales page or something like that. But yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, perfect. So I'm thinking with this, if somebody decided to like do their own website, they could literally reach out to you and get advice. Like if they did like the 2 pieces of copy a week, they could literally be done what, like a month?
Yeah.
No, am I doing a math? Like this is why I'm not a bookkeeper, you
Yeah.
guys. Like pretty much in like a month or probably a bit less, you can have like your whole website like professionally like edited, basically like all the copy on the site edited and ready to go, getting expert advice, which I think is wonderful because I know a lot of people can't afford to like do that $1,000 or more like done for you service. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it makes you a better writer in the future, which is nice. Like you get to go forth with some confidence in your own writing.
Definitely. I know I've been feeling better. Like when I get your email, when I send you my copy and you're like, oh my gosh, you're doing great. Like I don't have anything. Like I get so excited. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting better at this. Like it really makes me so happy because I know like I sucked at it. I'm still suck at it a little bit, which is why I'm working with you, but I suck a lot now.
Yeah, and I think that comes from like my style of feedback is like I'm not just going to say like change your headings to this. I'm going to say here's why this makes sense. Here's a couple of ideas. Do what you do and let me see it again kind of thing.
Perfect. And you've been so helpful. So I'm so excited to be sharing this with everybody because you've helped me like tremendously. So I'm sure other people get like a ton of value out of this if they decide to sign up.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Sam. Do you have any like last tips or final piece of advice before we go ahead and post this recording in the group?
Not really. I think funny enough with copy, less copy is better, less words are better, which feels really counterintuitive, especially so many of us come from school backgrounds where it's like 5-paragraph essay, defend your answer, all of that. And it's like, the more potent you can make your words, like the better you get your message across in less time, the better. And copywriting is just, everybody knows how to write. It's just writing in a specific way that's challenging, and that's okay. It's okay to get a little additional perspective on it.
Definitely. It really helps in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So thank you so much, Sam. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I hope a lot of people sign up, get their copy edited, reviewed, so that they can start attracting their clients online, because I know that this is what we're all in this for, is to start getting clients and attracting clients. And Sam is like the perfect person to help you do that. So thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.